Hi, thanks for joining me today for the Bell video blog. I'm Eric Bjornstad with Bell. Today we're going to talk a little bit about marine fuel stabilizers. It is springtime, and that means that boating season for most of the country is right around the corner, and that means boat owners are going to be thinking about things like using something in their fuel, specifically a fuel stabilizer. Now, we know that some boats use gas, marine gas, some boats use marine diesel. They're both petroleum products, obviously, and that leads us to the first question of, do I need a fuel stabilizer? Is it recommended for me to use a marine fuel stabilizer for my boat? Let's talk a little bit about the issue of fuel instability. Fuels go bad. Any petroleum fuel goes bad or becomes unstable when it is exposed to four main classes of things: water, oxygen, light, and heat. Now, light and heat encourage or accelerate the instability of a fuel by providing energy to drive the chemical reactions that result in instability. Oxygen and water provide the chemical precursors that start these chain reactions. Oxygen ultimately is what starts oxidation reactions. Exposure to water provides oxygen as part of the water molecule. So boats, obviously, marine environments, you have high probability of your marine fuel being exposed to water and oxygen. So that makes it probably more important to treat marine fuel with a fuel stabilizer. And especially if you happen to use marine ethanol fuel, which if you do happen to use that, then unfortunately we know the pain that you're going through, because a lot of boat owners, most boat owners, will try almost anything not to have to use ethanol in their boat. It's terrible in marine environments. Unfortunately, not everybody can get pure gas, or just as bad, not everybody can afford to pay the higher prices that ultimately go with non-ethanol marine gas. And so if you have to use marine ethanol fuel, well, then you definitely have a stabilization issue, because as that marine ethanol is absorbing water, it's going to undergo phase separation pretty quickly. Remember, marine ethanol, just like on-road ethanol, once you get above maybe a 0.5% volume of water absorbed, that's when you run the real risk of it undergoing phase separation and destroying the quality of the fuel. Okay. All fuel stabilizers, what they do is they have chemical components in them that actually stop the chemical reactions from ever starting. These chemical reactions are the reactions that result in fuel instability, where unstable molecules get exposed maybe to oxygen or something else. They break apart, they go around looking for things to try and react with in order to make themselves stable, but really all they do is end up causing more chain reactions and breaking apart the fuel over time. A fuel stabilizer, essentially stops those from ever starting at the very beginning. If those reactions can't get started, the chain reaction can't ever get started, and your fuel will remain stable for longer. Can a fuel stabilizer reverse fuel that's already been bad? No, of course it cannot. We would love for it to be able to. That would create an excellent market for something like that, but to be fair, all fuel stabilizers have to be used at the beginning. They are preventive products. Once fuel has stratified, once fuel has darkened, once the heavy parts of the fuel become unstable and are dropping out, there's nothing you can do for that. You're probably going to have to get rid of that fuel if you can't burn it at all, and you probably wouldn't want to burn it because you're going to leave a lot of deposits in your engine. So that is why it's so important to use a fuel stabilizer as a preventive measure at the beginning of when you're putting the fuel into the tank, so that it doesn't give a chance for it to go bad. Okay, so the last thing you consider, okay, how can you be sure that a marine fuel stabilizer is actually a legitimate product, that it's not snake oil? Because, let's be honest, and we know that there are 1,000 or more products from 1,000 different companies, all claiming to be the greatest thing that you could ever spend your hard-earned money on. And if everybody's saying the same thing, how do you know what is legitimate and what is not? Because anybody can write anything they want. Just because somebody says that their stuff's great, just because somebody says this fuel treatment will do this, 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 and this, that doesn't mean it actually does any of that stuff. And yet you as the consumer, you have a need. You need to protect this expensive piece of equipment. And you can't afford to make the wrong choice. So, how can you tell what's good and what's bad? Okay, first of all, short of testing every single thing that's out there, obviously a non-starter, you ultimately have to just try and make the best decision that you can without actually testing and trying everything. So, some guidelines to think about. Is the manufacturer reputable? Has the manufacturer been around for a long time? Does the product make reasonable claims? And this one you may not have thought of. Is the treat rate reasonable? Okay. Has the manufacturer been around a long time? There are a lot of fly-by-night people out there. A manufacturer that has a good reputation in the industry and has been around for a long time will have built up a satisfied customer base because their stuff actually does what the consumers expect when they purchased it. Bell Performance has an advantage here because we've been around for 105 years, started in 1909. You can't stick around for 105 years if you're selling snake oil. Does the product make reasonable claims? Okay. If you're buying a marine fuel stabilizer and that says, not only does it stabilize fuel, it guarantees you 50% better mileage, well, let's be fair. You're not going to get 50% better mileage guaranteed on any fuel additive. And therefore, that's probably something that you should run away from. And last thing, is the treat rate reasonable? This is one not many people think about, but a reasonable treat rate for a marine fuel stabilizer or a marine multifunction is going to be somewhere between 1 in 1,000 and let's say 1 to 2,400. You've got some treatments out there that will claim to do 8 or 9 or 10 different things for, you put a couple of drops in an entire tank of gas and it does everything under the sun. That is nonsense. In a formulation, you have to have a given concentration of active ingredients ending up in the fuel. Having something that claims it does everything you could possibly want at a 1 to 10,000 treat rate, that can't possibly have enough room in that formulation, in that volume, those eyedropper droplets that you're putting in that fuel, it can't be done. So stick with a fuel treatment that has a treat rate somewhere between, let's say, 1 to 1,000 to 1 to 2,400, something like that. Fuel additives with those treat rates are the most likely to be able to give you everything that you need and enough of everything that you need while also being cost effective for you to use. So those are just a few bits of advice on marine fuel stabilizers. If you have a boat, we hope that you found this information useful and that you enjoy your boating season coming up. So thanks for joining me today. If you'd like that information, you can find more of it at bellperformance.com and at wefixfuel.com. So thanks again for joining me. I'm Eric Bjornstad with Bell Performance. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.